the 2026 Chicago Bears draft class is one that is interesting as far as the reactions to it, both from fans and from the national media. We're going to talk about both of those. We're going to talk about why it's been said that this draft class is going to be an important reason of why the Chicago Bulls can win a Super Bowl. Those are big words. We're going to talk about all that, break it all down, the long-term vision and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Chicago Bears draft class, man, it's interesting, right? Because this is a class that I think you have to look at. And you have to acknowledge that, one, the Chicago Bears did not necessarily do what people thought they were going to do in the draft. Now, this is something, not even to toot my own horn, just for the reality of it, this is something that I did try to warn you guys about, that the draft board was probably not going to go the way that many of us thought that it would go. Now, I want to be clear in this. With it said is that it didn't go the way I thought it would go either, right? Like, I thought that the Bears would go safety in round one. I had been telling you guys that for a while. I thought it was going to go Emmanuel McNeil-Warren because I didn't think that Dillon Thieneman would be here for the Chicago Bears. But Dillon Thieneman was here for the Chicago Bears, and it was a great pick there to start off that draft. I look at him at pick number 25. You get a player that just was not expected to be there. Many people thought that they would have to trade up. And I keep saying Dillon Thieneman. I kept thinking that they would have to trade up to get Dillon. Unfortunately, no, they did not. Well, fortunately, they did not. They got a day one starter that is perfectly made for exactly what Dennis Allen likes to do on defense. Perfectly made for what he likes to do on defense. So that was a great pick by the Chicago Bears there. Then, of course, you get Logan Jones, the center out of Iowa, with your first pick in the second round at pick number 57. This is a guy that he is the center of the future. I know many people are like, well, why did you trade for a center if you're going to draft? You got to keep in mind, the draft board is very fluid. It doesn't always go the way that people thought. And even with that, do you want to throw in a rookie center into one of the best offensive lines from last year? You got Garrett Bradbury here, who's a solid starting center here. And then at the time, after that, like, if Jones does eventually take over, which should be the plan here, the starting center position, if he is a day one starter when it came down to that, all first team, all Big Ten, right? This is a guy that absolutely can do those type of things. Then great. Now you have a quality backup for him in Garrett Bradbury. So I love that move. I think that was a solid draft pick by the Chicago Bears. Then you have Sam Roush, the tight end there. This is where things started to get a little bit funky, right? So the Bears trade down. They get Sam Roush there, the tight end out of Stanford, and this immediately puts some pressure on, of course, what the future of Cole Kmet is, right? You know, people have crapped on this pick, but I look at it as this is legitimately a dual threat tight end. He is more of a blocking tight end and was given the moniker the best blocking tight end in this draft, potentially, but he's still a guy that still can get you 300-400 yards as far as reception yards there. And I think that's really good. The short fieldage threat that he's going to be, I think, is really good when it comes down to that one. The 13-man personnel, all that type of stuff. But this is where it started going to where it was like, okay, the Bears at this point aren't even going needs. They're going, to strengthen in future. Then you get the wide receiver, Zavion Thomas, with your other third-round pick at pick number 89. And listen, I get it. This is not where the Bears were expected to go. But the thing and the theme of this overall is that the Bears got good players. They didn't necessarily address their needs, right? So you get in a guy now who could be long-term slot there with Romo Dunze and Luther Burden. You still have Khalif Raymond there, which is going to be really interesting to see how they work out. Him and Khalif Raymond could both be used on special teams. You want to shore that up. That's great. All three phases, but he's not just a gadget player. I've seen people say, like, he is a legitimate wide receiver that can be used in other areas of the game, and I think that's going to be a fun thing to see when it comes down with him. Then you get Malik Muhammad, the cornerback out of Texas, in round 4, pick 124, and this is where, okay, this is still, I do think, a need. I had it lower on my list of needs for the Chicago Bears, but Tyreek Stevenson, the pressure is now on you. You and Terrell Smith, the pressure is now on when it comes down to it. I think that while Malik stats don't jump out the stat sheet from you, that's because the motherfucker was shutting down wide receivers. And so now you have the potential of having, and best believe, I think Malik Muhammad is going to be competing for the starting cornerback role opposite Jalen Johnson right away. So you can have Jalen Johnson, Malik Muhammad, and Kyler Gordon out there with Zay Frazier already, and Zay Frazier and Kyler Gordon, those guys that can be floated around and used in a lot of different areas. I think that this is going to be a pick now that Bears fans look at and say, hey, we didn't have to go here, and then they're going to end up loving this guy once they see him on the football field. It's going to take a little bit of acclimating to do, but then you have that. Then you got Keyshawn Elliott, the linebacker out of Ohio State at round 5, pick 166. And I want to be clear here. This is not a knock on his talent. I think that this is a guy that is a good talent when it comes down to it. I do think it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to crack the rotation of the linebacker with TJ Edwards, Bush there, Jack Sanborn, DeMarco Jackson, Ruben Hippolyte, the rookie from last year. But this could be a long-term play when it comes down to that. Even if he doesn't have a lot of playing time initially, he is going to be a guy that's probably going to be used on special teams, right? But the talent's there. 7 sacks, 14 tackles for loss in 2025. I can see the vision that where they brought him in here. Really solid pick there for the player, but it's just like, okay, we keep passing up things. Then you finally get to the defensive line. When we drafted defensive tackle Jordan Vandenberg out of Georgia Tech with the pick in round 6. And here's what I'm going to say with this one. You got a player that can contribute situationally. This is not the guy that's going to come in and be probably compete for a starter for you. He was first team all ACC, so however you look at that, right? He did have his best season in 2025, but I look at this as a rotational move. I think that the best thing that's going to happen for him is simply be a rotational player here for the Chicago Bears, and it's solid enough. So, you have solid picks, but you didn't really address the position of edge, and the question that now leads for the Chicago Bears is, what does that mean? That means that you're trusting Austin Booker, Dayo Odeyingbo, and the combination of course, Montez Sweat, and you're trusting that is going to be something for you. And maybe it is, but, Bears fans have the right to be a little bit concerned about the path that the Bears are going here and what it eventually gets them. So, that's a fair question here when it comes down to it. But we're going to get into the grades for the draft class, but one person specifically, ESPN's Matt Miller, made a bold prediction for the Chicago Bears draft class and said this: in 5 years, it will wind up being the group that paves the way for a Super Bowl championship in Chicago. Those are big words, right? And so, the question becomes, and I know for fans, right, and the thing that I call fan brain and stuff like that is we're so zoomed into the now, right? And the thing is that Poe's got a lot of players that are good. And I think that's overall, if you're just looking at the draft and looking at the quality and the skill set of the players and how they can be used in the scheme, he got all guys that are really good in that. It's just that he didn't address the need, right? The biggest, need projected for the Chicago Bears, and that's defensive line. And so that's what this comes down to, is that Poe's did not address that huge need. And so it's left now Bears fans questioning, okay, how much better are we really going to be if our pass rush didn't improve? Like, we've seen it. We saw it in the playoffs last year. When you watch the playoffs after the Bears were eliminated, all those teams, the ability to get to the quarterback, put pressure on the quarterback, and stop the run are things that are huge for that. And the Bears didn't really address that in the way that you would hope that they're going to address that in. And that's what it comes down to for that. But you listen, Dillon Thieneman has the ability to be a Pro Bowl safety. There's no doubt about that. Jones is going to be a guy that's guarding for Caleb Williams, going to be an important part. And I do think Roush is going to help the Bears with their run game. He's also going to be a dual threat there. And Muhammad is a guy that is going to be a long-term starter. I really do think, I don't know if he's going to win the starting position this year, but I do think he's going to be a long-term starter. And then they got potential everywhere else. So there's no doubt about that in regards to it. But let's talk about how the Bears draft was ranked, right? How the Bears draft was ranked by the experts, right? USA Today gave the Chicago Bears a C grade for their draft. Chad Reuter said this: Loveland is a talented player, but we'll see over the next couple of years whether fellow tight end Tyler Warren, who went 4 picks later, would have been the better selected at number 10. I expect Burden to be a stud in Chicago, where he'll team up with DJ Moore and Odunze. This is from last year. We're listen, so we're not even going to, I'm sorry, that quote was from last year. But USA Today ranked the Chicago Bears at a C in regards to that. NFL.com gave the Chicago Bears an A- rank, saying this. Chad Reuter said this: Thieneman is an easy fit with the Bears in the first round, because his athleticism, toughness, and versatility will fill a hole in the secondary left by the departed free agent Kevin Byard. Chicago picked the best center in the draft which for some reason, some Bears fans seem to think we got the fourth best center in the draft. It's like, I don't know where you guys, like, he was literally listed as the best center in the draft. And they said Jones should remind fans of prior starter Drew Dahlman. The trade of veteran receiver DJ Moore to Buffalo puts pressure on the 2025 second-round pick Luther Burden and Thomas, a surprising third-round choice to replace that production. Roush was a good value in round 3 and a future starter with solid receiving and blocking skills. Muhammad's athleticism and toughness made him a steal in round 4. Selecting Elliott made sense for the Bears since 2023 fifth-round pick Noah Sewell was recovering from a torn Achilles, and Vandenberg, a native of South Africa, is an excellent athlete and meets the team's need for defensive line depth. So NFL.com giving the Chicago Bears an A- grade for their draft. ESPN gave the Bears a B. Mel Kiper saying this: Dillon Thieneman was a great get at number 25. Dennis Allen could move him all over the place, deep safety, in the box, out the box, all over the slot. He's an instinctive player who had 6 interceptions season in 2023 while still at Purdue before transferring to Oregon, and he should help make up for some of the on-ball production lost in free agency. The rest of the class was slightly up and down. Logan was my top-ranked center. Looks like perfect Drew Dahlman replacement. Yes, the Bears traded for Garrett Bradbury, but I wanted to see Chicago make a long-term move here, and Jones is already essentially a seasoned pro with 51 career starts. Zavion Thomas was a clear day 3 guy, so saying that he went a little bit further down the board on that one. So a B from Mel Kiper on that one. Pro Football Focus gave the Chicago Bears a B as well. And then you have CBS Sports a B-, Yahoo Sports a B, Sports Illustrated a B, Sporting News an A. The Ringer gave the Chicago Bears a B, and Bleach Report gave the Chicago Bears a B as well. So what does that mean? Everybody basically ranked this above average for the Chicago Bears. The only outlet to give the Bears a lower than B grade was USA Today. So overall, you got to look at it and say this: the Bears on paper did really good. Even though they didn't address their biggest needs, they still did really good. And that's the thing that it comes down to with this one, right? And so when you look at why the Bears did not prioritize edge in the way that many of us thought that they would and that they should, I think you got to go to this quote from Ben Johnson in regards to, what he feels about the Chicago Bears and why they did not go edge. He said this: "We're certainly going to coach better than we did a year ago. And like I said, before it starts here, we made a concerted effort in how we're going to get that done. We're excited about the guys that ended up finishing the season on IR, the trajectory that they're on, both Dial Yingbo, Shamar Turner. When you look at it from the start of the season to the point where they both got injured, we saw growth and we saw them trending in the right direction in terms of what we see on game day. I think Montez Sweat had one of his better years in the NFL. Whether that shows up in the sack total or not, he's a very complete player, both in the run game and the pass game. I think you saw tremendous growth from from Austin Booker when we finally are able to get him back as well. The combination of us being able to coach better and those guys taking the next step is part of our system. I think they have some pretty good pieces to work with." So Ben Johnson clearly stating there, a big reason why you didn't see the Bears do that is because of the talent that they have there and that they believe in it. And then I think in the case of a guy like Dayo Yingbo, who's getting paid $20 million this year, you're gonna play him, right? And so with the Bears having more flexibility next year, they can get off a Grady Jarrett's contract, they can get off Dayo Yingbo's contract without most of that turning into dead money. That's probably where we're going to see a big shift for the defensive line. So, and I say probably because we thought that may be coming this year, but it did not. So you just never know what other needs may pop up. Like you had Dahlman retire. That was an unexpected need. Had Dahlman not retired and we didn't need a center in this draft to get a center of the future, what would that have looked like differently with the defensive tackle? So, and Ryan Poles has put a target on himself yet again, because if your draft class this year does not look really good, there's going to be that debate over why you did not address the defensive line earlier. And that's just what it comes down to, right? So it's good to see that the Bears got some hidden sleepers on it. I think Malik Muhammad is the guy that is going to be a starter in this league. I think Jordan Vandenberg is a guy that I don't necessarily see starter. I see depth guy, but you see that what happens there. And you got other guys that you can grow with it when it comes down to that. So I think overall, this could be a good draft class, but not the draft class we expected. And I think separating those two things as fans can be very difficult to do when it comes down to it, because of course we go into this draft with expectations. We go into the draft with things that we thought that we were going to see and the things that we wanted to see, and it just didn't happen in that way. It didn't happen. So the question comes down to it: did polls cook and we all just don't realize it, Or is this going to be a draft class that we look back on and say, Poles, you missed here and you should have went with this player? Like, I already know there are Bears fans that are going to be watching every edge and defensive tackle that the Bears passed on in rounds 2 and 3 and some earlier than that, and they're going to make a complaint over what the Bears either did not do or did do. That's just the reality for it, and that's that's what happens when you're in the front office. So you gotta deal with the good and the bad, and that's just what the reality of it is. And so Poles and their coaches, they made their decision on what they wanted this draft class to be, and then they went out there and get it. But I will say this, right? I talked a little bit about the selection out of Georgia Tech. That's Jordan Vandenberg, and he talked a little bit about him kind of modeling his game after Grady Jarrett. He said, I can't wait to absorb all that information from Grady Jarrett. This is a player that, again, has said, I didn't even know this coming in there, has modeled his game after Grady Jarrett. So you get to be the understudy of a guy that you've looked up to, that you're looking at similar body styles and stuff like that. And so could that turn around the trajectory there? That's what we're going to see, right? Like, you never know. Some players that you draft and that you think are going to be depth pieces can actually turn into starting caliber players, and that's perfectly fine when you look into all of that. But I think the overarching thing left from this draft is, did Ryan Poles get it right? And that's something that, despite what people will try to tell you and have the answer for you right now, we don't 100% know right now. And it's going to be up to them to show us that, if that is the actual case for the Chicago Bears here. And hopefully it is. I hope that, this is a class that surprises all of us. And hopefully Austin Booker, and other guys on the defensive line, actually give us more this season than what we had last year. And Ben Johnson's put the target on coaching, saying, hey, listen, we're going to coach these guys better, and we feel that they're ready, and we're going to coach them to that, and we're going to have them ready to go for the season. I don't know how anybody can be mad at that. A coach putting the onus on themselves and basically saying, we're going to get this done because we need to make this happen to get this done, and it's up to us to do that. So let's see if he can do it. Let's see if they can do it. I hope that they can. I hope that we look back on this and we look at this draft class and we just say, all right, bet. It's not what we expected it to be, but it worked out, because a lot of these players have a lot of promise. And I think Poles is even quietly cooking with the UDFA acquisitions, as he almost does every year. Like, the Bears always have a little, some UDFAs that you kind of don't expect to really stand out, and they end up doing that. So the important dates left for the Chicago Bears, let's talk about that, right? So rookie minicamp is going to be May 1st through the 4th, right? So that happens at the end of this week. We're going to be getting that. That's going to go down from Friday to Monday. And then it'll come back the 8th through the 11th. So they'll come back that following Friday and work days there. So you're going to see the rookies. You're going to see the undrafted free agents there. You'll see this is where they can start making their move to try to make the roster. Then we're going to get the official schedule release in May, right? We know who we're going to be playing, but we'll see when and where we're going to be playing them. That's where we start getting our predictions together. Then you have OTA workouts May 27th through the 29th, and then again June 2nd through the 4th. That's when everybody's going to be there as a team that, Ben Johnson does like to have 100%, participation if he can get it from those guys. But then you get the mandatory mini camp June 9th through the 11th, right? Which is going to be really important. And then you have the full training camp late July. So, things are coming real quick for the Chicago Bears and right around the corner for this team. And we get to see what the next phase of the Chicago Bears really is going to look like. So I'm excited about this. I think that it's going to be a fun season for the Chicago Bears, and it's going to be a fun preseason too, because I think that what Ryan Poles did here in the draft, he put we talked about players that were put on notice by the Chicago Bears with the draft that the Bears had. And you look at guys, J.P. Richardson, an undrafted guy last year, right? Undrafted guy last year, but we drafted Zavion Thomas in round 3. Stephen Carlson, who was a tight end here, now with the players that we drafted there. And then Katavius Street may not make that roster, but the guy that's put the most on notice by the Chicago Bears draft is Tyreek Stevenson. Tyreek, who has been so up and down here as a Chicago Bear, has made some downright boneheaded things. Malik Muhammad is coming for that spot, my boy. He is coming for that spot. And I tell you what, do not think that Muhammad, between that and Zay Frazier, these are going to be guys that are putting pressure on Tyreek Stevenson right away from training camp. Tyreek Stevenson better come in and have one of the best training camps and the best start and the preseasons and start to the seasons of his career, because if he does not, that starting position very well could be taken away from him real quick, real fucking quick. And we'll see where that leaves. And a lot of Bears fans would not be mad if that ends up being the case at all. But that's my time for today, y'all. I want to thank you guys so much. As always, this draft class is definitely one of those that you're going to take a wait-and-see approach. And I think that that's fair to take a wait-and-see approach. I don't think people are going to be head over heels for this one initially. But the upside here, it's real. And I really believe that. As some of you trying to sell you on something, there's real upside with a lot of these guys that Ryan Poles brought in. But now I want to hear from you guys. Do you believe that this is a class that can actually help the Chicago Bears be better than what they were last season? Or do you think we got ahead of ourselves, or Ryan Poles got ahead of himself in this one? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Chi Bear Central on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearcentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.